SMQB, baby. March Madness is upon us, and we're coming at you with episode 107. Hey, fellas, what's going on?
Someone's got a team
Madness.
live.
We're missing one guy here. I think Bison is very ill, and we're sorry for that. Either that, or he's got a case of He's got a case of it's been 7 weeks since episode 100, and I haven't gotten my tattoo yet.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that, Rooster.
I don't know what's going on here.
Got an excuse.
I'm starting to wonder.
I heard he was starting a bonfire down in Georgetown to celebrate the arrival of their new coach.
Yes.
Mr. Chicken Soup.
He's working on the parade route.
Hey, before we get into it with the brackets, it looks like the Big East is back, baby. We got some big time coaches coming in. We have a couple of really solid ones there already, if not more. I have a question for you, a trivia question for you. Okay. Who can tell me the name of the coach of the Butler Bulldogs basketball team? Current coach.
Brad Stevens was there.
Yeah.
Went on their run.
Ever at Butler.
I don't remember who Butler's. It's not Matta, is it?
It is.
Oh, it is.
Oh, really?
Good job. Good job.
Interesting.
Yeah, good job. All right. Well,
He moved over from like one of the Ohio schools.
He was at Ohio State for a while.
Yeah. He was good.
He's a good coach.
Really, he was. Let's jump into it. What do you guys want to? How do you guys want to handle March Madness? I was thinking we could each just take a couple of things we wanted to talk about. I mean, our fans should know that we appreciate the fact that they've already watched all the games. They've already read all the analysis of the games. They don't need a summary of games. What do you guys want to talk about? Start with you, House. What were your two big takeaways from the weekend?
I have two big takeaways. Were one, that I answered my question. Size doesn't matter. It didn't matter Edie's size with Purdue. It didn't matter Toshibui's size and 40 rebounds over the weekend for Kentucky. It just didn't matter. What matters, my second point, is I watched a bunch of the games, and it is unbelievable how much of an equalizer half-court basketball is. Some of these smaller schools, if you have good coaching and committed defense, and you are, set up in a half-court defense, you can keep the score low and you can stay in games. Most of these teams that are getting blown out is because there's transition scoring and it's not a half-court game. These big upsets.
Coaching matters is what you're saying. Coaching matters. There's not adjustments at halftime.
Huge.
To change up on these fast court.
The FAU win, the Princeton win, even some of the other schools, Miami, Creighton, San Diego State. These teams can play committed half-court defense. Tennessee, suffocating half-court defense, and that's what I kept noticing. Like, the reason why these teams that we think should be winning are not winning is because they just don't have a half-court game. Those were my takeaways.
Do you remember what I said last week about what I would do if I was playing Purdue in this tournament?
Press.
And that's what Fairly Ridiculous did. They pressed and then surrounded Zach Edey with people our size.
I was thinking about that game. Like, do you think that, and keep in mind, these are college kids, you get to the halftime, they're FDU's in the game. It's under 10 minutes. They're still in the game. Do they start to think about, am I going to be the next Virginia?
100%.
Yeah, they must.
Because their percentage shooting was some of the more atrocious 3-point shooting I've ever seen in my life, by the way.
Yep.
You must not have watched any more Carolina games this year.
Yeah, that's right. But I think there's a level of choking, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. I'm not taking anything away from FDU.
Well, they start pressing, and then they'll have a good shot, but they won't take it because they're not hitting, and it gets in their head, and they try to force passes in, and they were collapsing on Edey inside. They couldn't get him the ball.
They were 4 of 22 from 3-point land at one point.
Yeah, I
That's-
think
They're a
and-
horrible.
that's
They're
literally
look.
my
They're a
most impressive.
horrible March team for the
Yeah.
last 3 years. They're terrible. I don't know why people forget this every year.
They got beat by what, a 16, a 15, and a 13,
And a
the last
13.
3 years.
Yes.
yes.
And if they didn't have Edie, they'd be nothing right now.
Yeah, I mean the fact that I had them going as far as I did, it's they're obvious second-
Perennial out early.
right.
Can't
I
buy
had them.
stock
I
in
had them
Purdue.
losing in round 2 to
Memphis.
Memphis. I can't believe Memphis lost either, but that's a whole different story. What else you have, Milk? Anything else besides Purdue?
You know, I guess this might be looking ahead a little bit, but my greatest fear is taking place. The University of Alabama might have the easiest
Yeah.
coasting shot into the Final Four.
Might.
Right, they're playing San Diego State and then
San Diego State, and then the winner of now Creighton.
Princeton, right?
Creighton's probably the biggest opponent they have if they can get through Princeton. I can't believe it. I can't believe Alabama is got a huge chance of being in the Final Four. And an unbelievable luck that they've had. I had Arizona, by the way, going very, very, very far. I can't, but that to me, the
Another
Princeton,
classic
the
team that
Princeton
chokes
upset
in
to me
Yep.
was
March.
almost, if not bigger than the 16 seed upset.
I've got 3 of my Final Fours still alive, and
That's
2 of them are on the right side of the bracket. My left side of my bracket, besides Alabama, is an utter mess.
It's mush.
Pope, what do you have?
Well, I think it plays on what House was saying, but I think in this tournament especially, the guard play is so important in showing us the teams that are built for March. We're seeing some budding superstars, whether they're going on to the NBA or just college superstars. In this Nemhard guy at Creighton had 30 points against Baylor and was unstoppable. I think we all watched. We were texting during the Kansas State game.
Oh man, I love that guy.
I mean, Marquise Noel is Muggsy Bogues meets Steph Curry.
Yes.
He is a magician. I can't wait to see
And with
their...
ice in his veins too.
Yes. I mean, K-State, they were a fun team to watch, and Kentucky didn't play that bad. They just got beat by a better team.
Yeah.
And then, look, Alabama and Houston guard play. Quinterly had a great game against Maryland, and Sasser and Mark combined for 48 points against Auburn. Hell, Houston was down by 10 against Auburn and at halftime, and people are like, "Oh, here we go again," and they outscored them 50-23 in the second half and showed us why most of us have Houston. in the
Tiger
final.
Campbell's still getting it done for UCLA.
Tiger Campbell still for UCLA. You're right, Milk. It's kind of, maybe we shouldn't look ahead, but why wouldn't we? UCLA Gonzaga. Now, I did think that TCU was going to play Gonzaga close, and they did. They punched them in the mouth, and all credit to Gonzaga coming back. I don't believe, like one of the guys here on the pod, that Gonzaga was a quote unquote far superior team.
They are.
Gonzaga was a better team, and ultimately they showed it. But I think UCLA is where the Gonzaga train stops.
By the way, Timmy's got 1 more year of eligibility.
How's that possible? Is he on his 6th COVID year?
Yeah, I know. He could transfer to another team if he wanted to.
What, Pope, what are your thoughts on UCLA's injuries? What's Singleton's story? Is he gonna play?
Well, he was back. He didn't come back in the game, obviously, but he was in the line, the reception line or whatever after the game. So it may not be as bad as everybody thinks. Now, he's probably the 4 out of the 5th of the starters, that's that important. From a scoring standpoint, I mean, obviously they're down already going into the tournament, but
Jalen Clark.
they still have a bitter taste in their mouth from losing to Carolina last year. So I would be surprised to see UCLA stumble. And UCLA Gonzaga, Gonzaga is the upstart, even though they've been sustained for a while. But UCLA would like to put Gonzaga in their place. That's going to be a really good game.
Yeah.
That's the best. I mean, there's a lot of good games coming up, but that is, to me, the marquee matchup remaining are Xavier, Texas, which I really think is going to be a great game. I think people are underestimating Xavier, and Gonzaga, UCLA, where we'll find out how much they're missing Jalen Clark.
Hey,
I do.
Xavier can put up some points, man.
don't
yeah.
sleep on Houston, Miami.
Houston, Miami
Miami is athletic.
Yeah, they are, but I think Houston's a bad matchup for them because I think Houston's athletic and long and really long. One of the other things, and Rooster, I want to hear yours, but it used to be that everything was about the ACC and the Big Ten, and that led to ACC Big Ten matchup in the start of a new season that they would dominate. At least the selections. Big Ten would crap out a lot, but now this year, 6 out of the 16 remaining teams are either Big East or SEC. I mean, we don't normally list Alabama, Arkansas, and Tennessee as perennial big time hoops. And even in the Big East, while of course UConn is a perennial favorite, Creighton and Xavier being the Sweet 16 is pretty big for the, everybody expected Marquette was the one that we would see.
Right.
There.
Yeah.
Right.
But Creighton and Xavier is a big deal. So Big East and SEC are looking good.
I actually think UConn Arkansas is going to be a great game to watch.
Absolutely.
The two things I wanted to talk about were, number one, the Duke Tennessee game. It brought back
Good job.
it brought back really uncomfortable feelings that I had from being like the summer between 6th and 7th grade, and I would go down to this outdoor basketball court in my hometown down by the harbor where you could play hoops and watch boats and all that. And my buddies and I would meet up every day. And then one day, this group of guys from high school showed up, and these motherfuckers had like mustaches and muscles and everything. They bullied and beat the living crap out of us, and we just refused to quit, to the point where we like in near tears
You're the townies.
playing these guys. And that's how I felt about what happened to Duke. My God, they were playing grown men and they looked like little boys getting their asses whipped. This guy,
Beautiful.
How do you pronounce that guy's name? Jurez Plavic. He came right out like in the first play and just bulldozed Filipowski. And the next thing you know, Filipowski within the first 4 minutes, Plavic had 2 fouls and Filipowski had a gaping wound under his eye.
Needed a fight doctor.
Oh my God. I mean, these guys just beat the crap out of Duke. And I know I'm not alone among podcasters who thought Duke was a really solid dark horse to make the final
They were hot as shit going into the tournament.
My God, I've never seen
10-game
such
winning
a
streak.
physical ass whipping of a really top team in years.
Well,
it was
Tennessee is good. I mean, they whipped Alabama's ass.
But geez, they just beat
when they were
up
number one.
Duke.
Up
they didn't just win; they beat them up.
Yeah, no, they're athletic. They're a good team.
Tennis. Look, I watched them play all year. That was one of the best ones they've had all season, and I don't trust them at all. They turn the ball over way too much, and it will get them in trouble. They might get past FAU because they just have more talent, but I don't think they're getting through. They're not getting by either Kansas State.
Well, this guy Kamua, is that how you pronounce his name?
Yeah,
scored 27 points. He looks like somebody who's caught fire at the right time and is a budding star.
Yeah,
I mean, he was draining them. Anyway, my second point is the same point House started with. Coaching really matters. In the Big 12 finals, Texas beat the snot out of Kansas by 20 points with Bill Self in the hospital having heart cath for 2 blocked arteries. People were saying, he's going to be back. He's going to be back for the tourney. I mean, my dad went through that. You don't just come back to a high stress job, like being on the sidelines in March Madness, close to having that procedure done. And I didn't think he would be back. And so I picked Arkansas to knock off Kansas, and that's what happened. And I really think that team needs Bill Self in order to perform up to their highest potential. And sure enough, man, they just couldn't get it done without him.
I
And
don't know, Rooster, because when Bill Self was coaching, Texas beat him by 20 points the week before. They beat him by another 20 points in the Big 12 final. So I'm just not sure.
So why was everyone seeding them at number one and saying maybe they should have been in the Houston bracket? They're so good and they're going to go all the way.
It was their body of work. I mean, they had a great season, and they're defending national champions, and you know, you can't count them out. But you know, Kansas has the same tendency that Arizona does. If they don't make a run to the Final Four, they get knocked out early.
Yeah.
So Arkansas, I mean, look, those SEC teams, they are playing a different level of ball right now, and it's just been interesting to watch them dominate. Where the Big 12, we thought, you know, the Big 12 all year was the #1 conference as it was rated, and you know, all they have left is Texas and Kansas State.
By the way,
go ahead, Milk.
Arkansas has from top to bottom, and you'll see it against UConn. They might have some of the highest caliber players left in this tournament.
UConn, you're right.
Smith, Black, Council for Arkansas. There's NBA chatter around all three of those guys.
Yeah,
and I mean, I have Arkansas maybe getting to the Final Four, which I'm not really on saying that. But
speaking of that, Milk, now that we've had a chance to maybe recalibrate after our mess of brackets, who do you think is going to the Final Four?
I've got right in Bama, put them in there. I've got out of the South. I'm putting Arkansas in from the West. We're gonna have two SEC teams.
Tough one's the East.
I've got the winner of Michigan State, Kansas State. I can't pick. It's a flip the coin on those two. Don't
count Izzo out in March.
Izzo in March. I mean, come on. I love that game.
They just find a different.
By the way, in the Midwest, to your point on coaching, no one's talking about Rodney Terry. Unbelievable job he has done. He's probably earned the head coaching position next year, which was totally unexpected. They're what? They're 8-2 over the last 10 games. Texas is hot.
They're hot.
I've got them coming out out of the Midwest. That's my Final Four.
What about you, Pope?
Well, I have two of my teams left, so I have Alabama and Texas. And I think Texas over Houston is still going to be an unbelievable game.
Wait, Texas is your team?
Yeah, I got Texas over Houston.
What do you mean? You said two of your teams left.
Yeah, Alabama
in the
Texas.
Final Four.
Okay, not who you root for. I thought you were now taking ownership.
Hook 'em.
He does live in Texas.
So you've got
no.
You've got Texas, Alabama, and who are the other two?
Texas, Alabama, and then I think Kansas State. Kansas State
like
in the East
And who in the West? Say it. Come on, say it.
It's a toss-up.
Say it.
Unfortunately, I think UCLA, but it's a toss-up.
Oh my God. House.
Well,
I wish Bison was here.
I'll say I don't think we're done with upsets, but when the upsets are, I think we're going to see some pretty shocking upsets coming still. I just don't think one can come out of the South. I think Alabama I think both those games could be tight for them, San Diego State or Creighton, who I do think will hold off Princeton, but I think it's going to be Alabama. I agree with Pope. I'm impressed with Kansas State. Their coach has big time swagger. He has these kids believing. They're a very athletic team. I think Kansas State comes out of the East. I also agree with Pope that Houston, Texas will be an amazing game, but I do think Houston pulls that off and makes it to the Final Four. And out West, I'm different from everybody so far. I still like how Gonzaga plays and how Drew Timme plays. They've just got a will to this thing. And I think so. I've got Alabama, K-State, Houston, and Gonzaga.
Well, I've got 3 of my Final Four teams still alive: Alabama, Texas, and UConn. So I'm not going to change those. And Izzo's been to 25 March Madness appearances. He's made the Sweet 16 15 times, and 16 times his team has beaten a higher seed. I'm starting to think Bison was right last week. Izzo and Michigan State are the dark horse winners of the East. So I'm putting them in the Final Four.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm going to root for Kansas State, though. I love that team.
There's a lot of teams that rely on streaky shooting that are still remaining, and Creighton being probably the first of all of them. And if Houston also, I mean, if Houston, Creighton are not hitting their threes, Xavier doesn't hit their threes, you could see some teams get run out of the gym. I really think that if we saw some of that, like the 2 different games that Penn State played between the Texas A&M game and the Texas game. I mean, it was lights out shooting in one game, and then the next game they just could not make any of their threes. And that could be the difference in these Sweet 16 and Elite 8 games too.
Milk, assuming Tennessee gets out of the Sweet 16, can Michigan State or Kansas State stand up to that physical ass whipping?
Yes, because I'm telling you right now, Tennessee will turn the ball over, and it's a big problem for them this year. And I think Kansas State and Michigan State, their defense, they'll take advantage of that. I guess FAU could upset Tennessee, highly unlikely, but I don't see Tennessee getting through either one of those teams.
Interesting.
Yeah,
So
and I'm an SEC guy.
All right.
What's the biggest potential upset we see on Thursday, Friday games? I mean, your lowest seed
Well,
is
San Diego
Princeton.
State over Alabama would be huge.
It would be,
But
but
it's
your
not-
lowest seed is Princeton. They're a 15. I give
Yeah.
them.
They can win that game.
I give them about a 40% chance against Creighton. They have a lot
I
of
agree.
confidence right now.
Yep.
I agree.
Yep. Well, and their defense and rebounding is off the charts. I never thought Princeton was a rebounding team, but the stats this year are crazy. They totally out rebounded Maryland, right? Or no? Who did they play last?
Who? Princeton?
Yeah.
Mizzou.
Yeah, I mean, Missouri's a big physical athletic team, and Princeton out rebounded. Shocking.
They're just smart basketball players, and they just get in the other team's head.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, if Princeton's in the Elite 8, that's a shocker of the tournament.
Oh,
I mean, that would be ridiculous.
My next door neighbor and his entire family, his children, they all went to Princeton, and he was flying the Princeton flag after the Purdue game and then took it down. And I'm like, what kind of fan are you? You got to put it back up. They're still in it. He thought they were one and done after beating Purdue and took the flag down. Anyway, let's move on to
friends that smart.
Yeah, let's move on to the NBA house. I love the fact that Embiid is basically letting it be known he wants this MVP award and he's going to go get it. What do you think? What's his shot at getting MVP this year? I think he should.
I don't know. There's one of these graphs of the trend of like where people were, finding, because it's basically a 2-man race between him and Jokic.
Right.
And Jokic had it in the bag, according to a lot of pundits, a few weeks ago, but then Embiid went on his tear where he's doing.
And Jokic and the Nuggets dropped like 5 out of 6 or something recently.
They dropped 5 out of 6, and the juxtaposition was Embiid making fourth quarter winners and Jokic missing them.
Mhm.
And look, they're both great players, and I do think if you take either one of them out of their lineup for extended periods of time, the teams would crater. So I think they both qualify for being the most valuable player to their team. I just think what Embiid is doing as a big man is crazy. yes, I think Jokic sees the floor better. He's a better passer, and his vision of the court is better. As an all-around player, it probably goes to Jokic. As a dominant, most valuable player, yes, I'm biased, but I go with Embiid.
I don't know. I think Embiid is a better all-around player. I concede that if you're looking for a point center, Jokic is the man. But Embiid is such a better athlete than Jokic, and I think in tough postseason series that really matters. And I'm basing that in part on the Knicks game the other night. The problem Jokic has is he can't keep up with some of these athletic centers like Mitchell Robinson. Mitchell Robinson's no superstar, but that guy can get up and down the floor. And Jokic was like, foul line to foul line, basically just trying to keep up while Robinson was getting down, blocking other people's shots, and getting alley-oops during that game on offense because Jokic couldn't get down to defend him. He's a lumbering, unathletic guy. And I don't think the league wants him to be a three-peat MVP. I really don't.
That's elite era when you get three-peat MVP. I think the body of work this year, I think they're looking for a reason to do Embiid.
Yeah.
I hadn't even thought about it that way.
They
but
don't
it's
need a
good
reason that I think is a fair thing to say
Well, but
on behalf of Embiid, but I agree with you that they are. Yeah, I agree with you that they are. Yep.
I mean, I don't know just off the top of my head how many three-peat MVPs we have. I don't even know if Jordan and LeBron have done that.
House, what did you think about George Karl's comments?
Oh my God. Seriously, George Karl, please. First of all, he sounded drunk during that interview, but besides that,
he probably was.
If you guys didn't hear George Karl, what he said was, yeah, he's a good player and everything, but he takes plays off, and I don't like his body language on the floor. Like sometimes he makes faces I don't like. I mean, are you serious? Look, forget about his bias that he coached the Nuggets, so he's going to be for Jokic anyway. But there's always some. First, it was the Raptor scoring metric. Then it was a different metric. There's always some reason that people are looking to not give it to Embiid. It's ridiculous. Bill Simmons is another one who's on the Jokic train.
Yeah.
Like, get over yourselves. Just look at the results of his team and his points and his
Karl recycled those comments from previous years too. He said the same thing before. Pope, to answer your question, three people have three-peated: Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain, and Larry Bird.
Wow.
So it hadn't happened in quite a while.
Since 1986.
Yeah.
All right. Well, next up on the
let's address though real quick what's going on in the West as far as who's going to make the playoffs. Do you guys realize there's only 3 games that separates the 5th team and the 12th team?
Wow.
I mean, the Mavericks now are 36-35. They're 11.5 back, and the Jazz are 13 back and they're 11. They're out of the playoffs. And the Clips, hell, the Suns are only 4 games ahead of the Jazz, and the Suns are in the 4th spot. So it's unbelievable. Every game, in the NBA, usually every game doesn't matter, but this is almost like we're in playoff mode now. Every game matters.
I think the biggest shame this year is the fact that KD got hurt right before the playoffs. I really wanted to see him gel on the Suns and see how that team played.
What's the prognosis? Is he going to be back for the playoffs?
I think so.
For sure. But how about the fact that KD in his goddamn shoes? First, it was a 1/4 inch of a shoe on a line. And then it was a shoe hitting a wet spot. I mean, a friggin' sweaty spot on the court is why the guy's not playing. It's crazy.
Are the Clippers healthy?
Yeah, I think so. I think everybody's playing for the Clippers.
I mean, they're all playing 500 ball basically right now.
Yeah, they are. The Clippers are 5-5. Suns are 5-5. The best record in the last 10 games is the Kings. We thought the Kings were going to fade.
We had
they got better. They got better.
Right. They're challenging Memphis now for the 2 slot.
Crazy.
Well, I think the question will be for the West is with extended absences of Ja and KD, do the teams kind of get back into the swing of things in time to be on all cylinders for the playoffs?
Right. House, have you watched the Kings at all recently?
Yeah.
Your man, didn't Tybal used to play for the Sixers?
Yeah, Tybal.
He's
But
playing
no, Tybal's
great.
no, but Tybal's with Portland now.
Oh, is he? All right. It must have been the
Yeah,
Portland game I was watching. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
he's playing out of his mind.
Yeah,
It's
no,
a shame.
Tybal's a
I mean,
good player.
if you're a Sixers fan, you have to be sad that he's gone.
He just was defense only, really.
He's starting to play good offense.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
We like him here.
Yeah.
How many
All
more
right.
games? What it was 10 more games left in the season? Something like that? Playoffs.
How many total? So
82.
It's crunch time.
Yeah. Mavs have 11 games left, so it's pretty consistent with everybody else.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like I said. I mean, every game matters, even against the bad teams. In theory, if you lose one, then you probably lose a slot or 2 in the playoff seeding.
Right, which is why
By
I'm
the way,
curious whether the players on the Clippers are still resting or are they playing every game now?
Yeah, I don't know. But back to real quick, the Embiid Jokic, I meant to say that 1 week from tonight, they play in Denver and all eyes are going to be on that game. I'd be shocked if Embiid doesn't play out of his mind in that game. I think they both will really be going for it. Not just for obviously for their teams to win the game, but I think they know the MVP could be on the line that night. So that'll be a fun one.
Yeah,
a week
that'll
from,
be fun. That will be fun.
Tonight.
Who's watching the Baseball World Classic? I haven't seen
USA.
one game. I haven't
haven't
seen one
either.
game yet.
Pretty sure House and Bison.
House loves them because Trey Turner's winning it for the USA.
Yes.
Well, I'm a USA homer, but I also think there's just like, first of all of these.
Oh, that's
Central
funny. We're all
American
rooting for
soccer-
Russia.
Are you?
Well, I
Cuba.
know.
Venezuela.
I mean,
Yeah, I thought you were for Venezuela.
yes. Milk, you're Latin
Hey,
American.
Acuna
right?
is on Venezuela.
Right. It's probably because we are isolationist homers that we don't really appreciate what countries some of these Latin guys are from, and you see the talent. Like, it's ignorance of me, but I didn't appreciate what kind of talent Venezuela actually had on their team. That team was stacked. That team was absolutely stacked. But look, this other than our pitching, which is meh. When you got to put up Adam Wainwright throwing 86-mile-per-hour meatballs over the plate as one of your starters, I don't know. But this Trey Turner, Paul Goldschmidt,
Trout
is playing out of his mind, and they're really, really loving. It's like almost there's something about, we've seen it in all the other sports, whether it's, any of the Olympic sports, there's something about playing for your country where it feels like these guys turn back the clock to when they're like teenagers and college kids. They're so energetic and happy. And that moment where everybody's seen it by now, the Trey Turner grand slam when the US was down by 2 runs late in the game, that was a big moment. It's cool. It's a shame that this World Baseball Classic is getting tarnished a little bit by this injury to Edwin Diaz. I don't think we talked about that yet. Yeah, maybe we did talk about it, but yeah.
Well,
Edwin
and the cheater.
Yeah,
and the cheater Altuve.
Yeah,
Altuve. I think it's a dumb argument to say that we need to get rid of the World Baseball Classic because guys are getting injured. Because I just checked, some of the injuries, and there are some serious injuries happening in spring training in Florida and Arizona too.
right.
I mean,
Max Scherzer's point is they should have this World Baseball Classic happen mid-season when everybody's warmed up and used to playing, that more injuries happen in spring training and at this time of the year.
162 game season by adding in another 2 or 3 weeks to break it up.
Yeah,
that's insane.
They'd have to consolidate it, maybe replace the All-Star weekend. with this.
But it really does. It will really change the fortunes, I think, of the Mets. Edwin Diaz was such a big part of their success last season until they choked. But I mean, he had a whole bunch of saves, created that whole thing with the trumpets. Like,
Yeah, I feel
they've
bad
got-
for the trumpeter. He's out of a job.
Trumpeter's fucked.
We need to GoFundMe for the trumpeter for the Mets.
This just proves my point, my theory that it doesn't matter how good the Mets or the Jets are, they're always going to find a way to suck.
Oh man.
Hey, House,
can't
what
wait till
pitcher
football
was it that
season.
broke Altuve's thumb? Do you know?
I forget. I forget.
Are
who
you
it
was.
was.
Was it an Astro? I mean, how
Aroldis Chapman.
funny would that be if it was his own teammate who broke his thumb?
Oh man.
Karma.
The other good thing about this is for players like Goldschmidt and Trout, it's more exposure than they get because most of the country doesn't watch them on TV. You know, you especially from the Midwest East to the East Coast, you don't see these guys playing a whole lot.
Well, tonight, by the time most people hear this, we will have the result of Mexico Japan which is tonight, and everything points to the undefeated Japanese team beating Mexico's been 3-1 in the tournament. And if we get that matchup of Ohtani and the rest of a very talented Japan squad versus the US, I think a good number of TV sets are going to turn that on. I think that's some good baseball to watch.
Milk, isn't your guy Arroz con Pollo on Mexico?
Yeah.
He is.
He's been playing amazing.
He's made some awesome plays in the outfield. I saw that.
Yeah.
All right. Who's got a punchable face? Anybody?
Are we taking our
Before
shots?
that,
this
though, can we ask Milk to explain to our dear listeners what's going on with his background?
Oh my
week?
God.
I think that's Milk's shot this week.
I just noticed that. How sad.
Just noticed it?
How sad. I feel badly for you, Milk.
Yeah, I want all of our listeners to live the nightmare of Baker Mayfield. He was announced today as the Bucks' presumably starting quarterback.
Why wouldn't he be?
I mean, unless he can't beat out Kyle Trask. Do you know what it's like to go from Tom Brady to Baker Mayfield? You guys know what it's like.
It's like dating a supermodel and then ending up with an IHOP waitress.
It's a living hell. All right. And yeah, I mean, I think we win. I had us winning 3 games with Trask. I have us winning 4 games with Baker. So,
And then
He's a
in
winner.
game 5, Trask takes over and starts, which is pretty much
Although
Baker's
one of
MO
those-
these days.
one of those wins next year will be against the Eagles.
Whoa.
Mark it down.
You just recorded that, so I can play that over and over and
I
over.
know,
again.
and I know you will. Actually, I know you will take that soundbite and hold on to it.
That'll be your ringtone when you call me.
Oh God, no! It's gonna be a long year.
So
Long decade.
does anybody else have a sound bite? Pope sounds like you do.
Go
A
Pope.
soundbite?
Well, what
Your
is
shot.
it that you wanted to get to before punchable face?
Oh, I wanted to find out what Milk had on his background.
Ah,
I wanted to hear him talk about Baker in such glowing terms.
It's bake time.
Let's bake.
Let's bake. Isn't that? By the way, isn't that? When I hear "Let's Bake," all I think about is the meth show. No,
Breaking Bad?
Breaking
yes,
Bad.
I'd be like, "Let's bake.
Breaking Baker.
Let's bake."
Man.
Let's
Hey, I
bake.
just wanted to give a shout out to Giannis, who had a perfect triple, right? He had what did he have? He had 22 points, 13 rebounds, 10 assists, and did not miss a shot Sunday. That's a pretty amazing feat.
How many self rebounds did he have?
None at the end of the game that I know of.
That's pretty impressive to not
Yeah.
miss a shot.
Yeah. How about you, House? You have a quick hitter?
I want to give a shout out to a real dynasty in college sports that very few people know about. But it is a true dynasty. The Penn State Nittany Lion wrestling team just won another national championship this weekend. Their coach is a guy named Cale Sanderson, who came over to them from Iowa State. Cale is one of about 3 or 4 wrestlers in NCAA history who never lost in college. The guy is just, he's an animal. He's a winner. He's an incredible leader. He's an incredible coach. He's been with the team for 13 years. 12 of those seasons, there were championships. One was canceled because of COVID. They've won the national championship 10 times of the 12 years he's coached.
Wow.
It's crazy. But the other thing that was really cool watching the wrestling this weekend, it's an equalizing sport for athletes. We had champions this weekend. There's only 10 weight classes, and we had a champion from Northern Colorado, one from Princeton, and two from Cornell. And I just think that's cool that you can go to almost any size college in the country and still be on the biggest stage and win a national championship in a sport. So hats off to all the guys that wrestled this weekend in the championship, and particularly Penn State. That was awesome.
True student athletes.
Anyone
True
else?
Indeed.
Got anything, Milk? No? All
No.
right. Now, who has a punchable face?
I have two.
Oh boy.
I think you guys
Uh-oh.
have heard both of these. And if you haven't, you're going to want to punch also. So these are two really ugly family stories. The first is, you'll probably recognize the last name. The first involves a kid
You're not talking about my post St. Patrick's Day celebration, are you?
I don't know. Is there video of that also?
Right, yes.
Yeah.
Maybe you already been punched.
Have you
Again.
guys- have you guys seen the story about Carson Briere?
No.
Carson Briere is the son of Danny Briere, who had a really nice professional hockey career with the Canadiens and then the Flyers. He's now their interim GM. Carson Briere is a hockey player for Mercyhurst University, and the team went to go party in Erie, Pennsylvania, and they were at a bar. And there was video footage at the top of the bar, the top of the stairs inside the bar was an empty wheelchair. There was a girl who was a double amputee who had to be carried down the steps to go to the bathroom. So they left her wheelchair there. Well, this idiot who was just playing around decided to scoot around for a little bit in the wheelchair, see what it was like. And then when he was done with that and was bored, he took the wheelchair and just tipped it down the stairs and sent it down the stairs, crashing at the bottom of the stairs. Like, what has to happen in your head to make somebody do that? Like, really?
Sickness.
So, he's suspended. Of course, they're deciding whether or not they're even going to keep him at the university. So I think he's got a lot of punches coming his way. But I just, like, seriously, man, like, get a life. Get a life. It's just a shame about what happens sometimes with privilege with these kids, which leads me to my second really ugly one. If you didn't see the report that was released last week from US Soccer,
About the parents?
yeah. Did you see that?
Burkhalter and
Yeah.
Reina.
Yeah.
Holy
What happened?
crap. So, a really great soccer player in the past for US Soccer was Claudio Reina. And his son, Gio Reyna, is a very, very talented soccer player. He was a little bit injured before the World Cup, but apparently he's just like, he's got an attitude. And
We
I
did
think
a little piece on this
We
earlier.
did. Yep.
Yeah.
There's a-
it turns out that after he didn't get playing time, he was sulky and really disruptive to the team. And Berhalter, 2 weeks after the World Cup was over, gave a speech where he kind of alluded to a problem on the team. And then it kind of leaked out that the person he was talking about was Gio Reyna. And after they did that, the parents decided to go on this march to get him canned. And they pulled up, turns out he went to Chapel Hill in 1992 as a freshman, Berhalter. And he got in a domestic dispute with his then girlfriend, who's now been his wife for almost 30 years. She slapped him. He pushed her down, kicked her. Police never came. There were never any charges. But the Reynas decided to release that.
Well, who was her?
They were
roommate?
friends. They were all friends back
Who
then.
was her roommate?
Who was her roommate?
It was Reina's wife.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
right.
they were all friends.
They were all
They
friends.
socialized together, and so they have this information that only a friend would have, and then released it out of spite.
So what came out is that in this investigation is that the Reinas have for years just been bullying U.S. soccer coaches and other people in the system, including the director of U.S. soccer, really for their kids' playing time. And like always really in very aggressive, expletive-laden texts and calls complaining about the fact that Gio's not on the field enough. Like, again, get a life.
Gio would probably play more if it were for his parents' interference. Because he is good.
Exactly.
Dude, that's horrible. This is a parental involvement in youth sports is like one of the worst things that can happen.
You're watching it firsthand now, Milt.
And I'm telling you, it's like there are some fucking awful parents out there that like, I mean, it's like, and I sit there, I'm like, this is like ruining this. He doesn't even know it. He's so young. It's going to like ruin this kid's life. Like they can't step out of their own way. And as they elevate into, more competitive sports, it gets worse and worse. I don't know. The whole thing turns me off.
Carson Briere and the Reina family, you can punch each other as we're punching you.
Yeah.
Are you punching FIA?
Oh, who was doing that FIA
I
punch?
think it was Bison.
Yeah.
Bison's not with us anymore.
Well, he's with us, but just
Well, I think we could.
There's a ton of people we could be punching, and
what is I thought
Aaron Rodgers, all kinds of people.
You punch Aaron Rodgers every week. No, FIA this week totally screwed up the podium at the Saudi Arabia Formula One race when they gave Fernando Alonso the third place, and then they took it away from him because of a penalty, and then turns out that they hadn't been equally administering the penalty since the Aston Martin team showed them 7 instances where they had the exact same situation in the pit when he's doing a delay, and they didn't enforce it. And so then they turned around and they took it away from George Russell after they gave him third place. And George Russell went on social media with the trophy and a bottle of champagne and said, even though Alonso and Aston Martin deserves it, thank you, Mercedes. And then that social media post was deleted when he lost his third place, 20 hours or 10 hours after the race. It was just a joke.
His social media post was followed by then Alonso saying it's unfair because I was holding the trophy and drinking the champagne.
Right. Right. I know. It's just totally screwed. I mean, you have to enforce that during the race. You can't let somebody up on the podium and then after it's over tell them that you're stripping them of their trophy, and then another 4 or 5 hours later after your team presents evidence otherwise, they're like, "I reinstating you." I mean, it's just they need to get their act together. So as an early season punch, that's a shot across the bow. Get better.
Don't call it a comeback, FIA.
Is Alonso the driver of the year so far?
Oh, hell yeah.
I mean,
how about
it's the driver, it's the car.
He's got 2
wait a minute. How about Max coming from 15th to 2nd place?
He's in a rocket ship.
Yeah.
All right.
That's what Hamilton said. Hamilton didn't even fight him. He said, I can't even compete with that thing as it blew by him.
Okay.
It's the car this year. But it will be interesting because Checo is not going to sit back and let Red Bull put their thumb on the scale for Max.
Right.
So we could see some elbows out between those two on some close racing, and could be a little paint swapping. Would be a lot of fun.
That would be fun.
Checo Verstappen boxing match.
Checo.
Oh, Checo.
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
Yeah, Max. No.
Well, listen, I know I've said this before, but do you remember last season when Serena Williams came out to present the trophy to Max? She looked like she could pick him up with one arm and curl him and then snap his neck in half. He's tiny. They're all tiny, except for Alonso.
Alonso's big.
Alonso looks huge compared to those guys.
Yeah. I like him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But nobody has a lasso for this week?
I think we do. Who actually, speaking of Lasso, who's seen episode 1 of the current season? Anyone?
Oh, yeah, it was good.
Yep.
You thought it was good? I thought it was kind of meh.
It's just setting up what's gonna.
It better get better. I think it better get better. It seems like maybe they're running out of energy.
Don't
like-
don't you don't think West Ham and AC Richmond are on a collision course?
Well, yeah. Let's hope. Let's
Yeah.
hope. I have
It's a setup.
along those lines. I have sort of a meh Lasso.
Yeah, like Georgetown's higher, man.
Yeah,
Oh
no,
my
it's just
God.
not. It's
Like
a nice
chicken soup?
story, but it's a nice
Like
story,
chicken
but
soup Lasso.
it's a nice story, but you're not going to get teary-eyed or anything like that. You guys heard about Danny and Brian White, the athletic directors of Tennessee and FAU? They're both
No.
brothers, and they are meeting up in the Sweet 16 at Madison Square Garden when their teams play each other, which is kind of cool for
It
their
is pretty
parents,
wild.
especially for their parents.
Nice.
So that's what I got. Anybody else got a Lasso?
Story.
Nothing nice that you can think about.
No, we need Bison to get better. He had a lasso, but
He had
he's-
one, yeah.
You
Yeah,
didn't tell us what it was? Damn it.
No.
it was very
No.
mysterious.
It was mysterious. But by the way, on that last note on the tournament, can you imagine the Final Four's in Houston, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Houston, Texas, Final Four.
Yep.
Hope
Well,
you'll
that
have
can
to-
happen.
Yes.
No. Houston, Texas are in the same region.
Oh, that's
They're
right.
they're gonna play in the Elite
That's
Eight.
right. They would play in the Elite Eight. Damn it.
Yeah.
That would have been cool.
Ted Cruz is going to have a hard time figuring out which team's ass to kiss.
We'll go with Texas.
Let's
More fans.
hey, let's give a shout out to Bison. He's not feeling well, but this has been a good day for him. Looks like the Commanders being sold, and Georgetown got a top-notch coach. So good for you, Bison.
They did. That Georgetown will definitely improve to 4th place in the conference. Maybe
Oh man. Listen,
Fourth place.
I think
that
we're
would be
gonna
a big win for them.
I think we're going to be talking a lot more about the Big East now that they added, besides their success this year in the tournament. Now they added.
No, they got the retread. coming.
Patino to
Patino.
St. John's.
And that story is going to
Look
be
out, waitresses.
We're going to hear a lot more about that story because they basically wanted Patino so bad that they made up for cause to get rid of their coach and not have to pay the guy $11 million.
And
I
he's
have a
gonna
feeling
sue
we're going to
them.
be. I think we're going to be punching somebody down the road for that.
Wow,
one.
wow,
Yeah.
wow.
Well, look, if
All right.
Georgetown wants to improve, they need to take out their checkbook and start paying players. That's the new world. That's why all these SEC teams are going to start to be,
That's not how the Jesuits operate.
well,
Well, they get left in the
pay to
dust.
play.
Hmm.
You want to recruit in DC, get your checkbook out.
That sounds like an SEC fan speaking.
Yeah, right. All right. Good job, fellas. Anything else?
Enjoy the tournament.
Yeah.
Yeah,
More
yes.
madness.
All right.
Can't wait.
Let's make sure next time we're together for this.
Agreed.
Absolutely.
See ya.
Right. All right, boys.